Why is my audio still coming out of my speakers? Sorry. I'm very professional, as you can imagine. Oh, I'm seeing some chats. All right. It looks like we're good. Let me just go ahead and pause that. Don't need that. Oh, what do you know? The tea is done. Greetings, everybody. Greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the panel. Hopefully nothing goes catastrophically wrong, but it probably will. I can't wait. Let's go ahead and get ourselves ready for this. Oh, hold on. I need to send out a live alert. Hold on. Discord is fighting me. Don't worry, we got a lot of time here today. I hope you're all enjoying your con. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Lunar Con so far. I know that I certainly have been, and I can't wait to get back to more of it. But we have to take a break from enjoying our convention to learn how to play the game. Also, I think my title is wrong. I don't know if the title has been updated yet. Let's see. Yeah, no, it's still wrong. Hold on. Let me see if we can get the title fixed. We got it? Okay, cool. Never mind, they got it. Sorry. Alright, thank you. So yeah, I very unwisely sprung for the hour-and-a-half panel slot, which means we have a lot of time to kill, which is why we're in no particular hurry. But don't worry, we got a lot of learning to do, and you'll be surprised how much learning we can cram into an hour-and-a-half. Step 1, learn to stream. Hey, shut up. No, step 1 is grab my tea. Step 2 is crack a beer. I say beer, it's actually a cider, but you know, gotta keep the old throat dry, because I'm gonna be yelling at y'all for an hour-and-a-half. We got a big lecture ahead of us. Okay, so it's probably a good time to pretty much just dive right on into it. So let's give this a go. Let me just get all my windows squared away. I got a lot of stuff to try and keep organized here. I'm juggling a lot. And may or may not have, just finished putting this together like literally 5 minutes ago, because I live on the edge. And you should too, because that's the correct way to play every job. That's basically all you need to know. So, that's pretty much where we're gonna get started. Let me see. Small adjustments, sorry. Make sure nothing's exploding. I think we're good. Ahem. Hello and welcome to the most educational class you've taken since 2nd grade. Today we're going to be taking a close look at every single job in Final Fantasy XIV and how to play them all correctly. This one easy course will teach you to play any job you want, and you'll be even better than a mentor. Sounds awesome, right? Right. So, I'd like to begin by introducing myself. That's not the introduction, what? I'd like to begin by introducing myself, sorry. I'm Cider Spider, and I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV for approximately 2.5 years. I've been a Scholar main from day one, and as you know, scholars are smart. Probably. And in my travels, I've slowly taken up every single combat job in Eorzea. I learned how to kick idiots in the shin. I learned how to shoot fireballs at idiots' shins. I even learned how to shoot a gun at someone's shin. Why the heck is everyone so tall in this world? But I digress. I am a certified master in small arms and short-range combat. And today, I'm going to share all of my knowledge with all of you. You see, all this time that I've been playing the game, there was something I just kept noticing. Everyone sucks but me. It's rough being a healer when your tank is Garbo, so I learned how to play tank. And then it turned out that it sucks being a tank when your healer is Garbo, so I learned DPS. And found that it sucks being a DPS when your tank and your healer are both Garbo. Luckily, you usually can't tell when the DPS are Garbo, but that's their reward for waiting 27 minutes in queue. And you know what we call a 27-minute queue time? Other than an average day on Dynamis. That's right! We call it Garbo! So eventually I came to the realization that the best course of action was not just to play every job in the game, but to actually teach everyone else to play every job in the game. So surely I must have become a mentor, right? Lol, no. Even if I wanted to, I haven't hit the 1500 commendation requirement. I've been told it's because my glowing personality intimidates the nub-nubs. And nowadays it's impossible to get comms because they all go to Limsa cat girls with illegal adventurer plates. You know the ones I'm talking about. So I figured the next best thing would be to yell at a bunch of dweebs that I scammed into attending this panel here at LunarCon. And it is my fondest hope that all you will set out after this session armed with the knowledge I'm about to give you. And stop being Garbo! So here's the deal. We're going to make our way through every job one by one. I'm just going to start at the top of the list and work my way down. I'll even give you a step-by-step guide for every single job. And that's the kind of value you just won't get anywhere else. Also, if you have any spare time, I might take some questions at the end. So let's all get settled in, because this is going to take a while. Okay, but before we do that, let me fix one thing, because I'm kind of a dummy, and I did not open a separate window for chat. And so I want to make sure I can actually read all the things that you lovely people are saying. There we go, that's better. Alright, we got it. Now then, let's go ahead and get started. But where to begin? Well, want to be a healer, a DPS, and a tank at the same time? Do you want to do all of your party members' jobs simultaneously and also better than they can? Well, boy, have I got the job for you. Warrior has got the skills to pay the bills, and the bills to get the kills, or something. So yeah, if you aren't playing Warrior already, then you might as well start playing it. Warriors are the future, and fittingly, the Warrior's only weakness is the past. As with all jobs that get better later, the only shortcoming of Warrior is that anytime you get level synced below 56, all of your godlike powers are moot, and your entire miserable existence hangs by the thread of whatever Cure 1 White Mage happens to be healing you. But every other time, it's great! So, do what any good warrior would do, and channel the fury of sub-56 roulette queues and use that anger to clap even more cheeks in the high levels. Thus, I will now teach you how to correctly play warrior. Oh, right, sorry. Moving the slides is hard. Ahem. How to correctly play warrior. Step 1. Fell Cleave. Remove any button from your keyboard that isn't Fell Cleave. Learn to stop worrying and love the Fell Cleave. There isn't a single force in the world strong enough to withstand 7 consecutive Fell Cleaves to the shins. Warrior is a tank, and as the saying goes, the best defense is a good offense. Enemies can't hurt you if they're dead, and dead can't hurt you if they're double dead. Therefore, Fell Cleave is a mitigation. If you Fell Cleave, you can achieve. Don't stop believin'. Keep on Fell Cleavin'. Ah, yes. Step 2. Raw intuition / bloodwetting is the answer to all of your problems. What if there was a 25-second cooldown that could heal you to full for 6 seconds? Sounds pretty awesome, right? Right. And you know which job has that button? Yep, it's Warrior. Forget about Rampart, Vengeance, Reprisal, and all that other crap, and I mean that literally, because every time I play Warrior, I forget those buttons exist since bloodwetting renders them unnecessary most of the time. Seen from the perspective of a healer. Sorry, what? Where's my... Oh no. Hold on. Hold on. We're missing something. One moment. Technical difficulties. I knew something was going to go wrong. Give me a sec. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We're going to fix it. Maybe. No, that's not right. Hang on. Okay. I think I almost fixed it. Just pretend that didn't happen. Cut that out of the VOD. There we go. That's what. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Where were we? Let's take that one from wherever we were. Oh yes, bloodwetting renders all your. Basically, bloodwetting is great, and it's all you need. It's the only button you need on your hotbar, other than probably fell cleave. Now, as we were saying, yeah, seen from the perspective of a healer. Sorry, there we go. We got it. Okay, seen from the perspective of a healer. Oh my God, that tank isn't mitigating. Wait, never mind. He's a warrior. What a Chad. I hope he'll date me. That's right. Bloodwetting will get you dates. Play warrior, idiot. Step 3. Fell cleave. Step 4. When in doubt, home gang. Warrior gets invuln earlier than any other job, and it has a 4-minute cooldown, which is much shorter than any other invuln. So join the home gang, Holmes. Anytime you're in over your head and your healer is too distracted by your muscular charm to save your handsome life, just remember that 10 seconds of not dying is at your fingertips every 4 minutes, and it even has a sick chain leash animation to assert additional dominance. And no white mage, the warrior can't put the chain on you. Step 5. Shake it off until she orogeny. Shake it off is the best party-wide mitt ever, so of course it had to go to warrior. It's a Chad 15% mitt that can scale up to a Giga Chad 25% mitt, plus a heal, plus heal over time. Sacred Soil Whomst. This button does the job of 2 healers, and it's only one of many such buttons. Another example is, Step 6. Nascent Flash. Yes, warrior is a shield healer as well. There really is nothing warrior can't do. In conclusion, Fell cleave. Where's that one? I don't have a slide for that. Warrior is the perfect solution to any problem. It is the quintessential MMO Chad. If your entire party sucks, you can harness your sheer fury to do all their jobs for them and carry the whole team on your swole, shredded back. It's a shame this is the first job on the list because you really don't need to learn anything else once you start playing warrior. Regrettably, there are 19 other jobs and counting, and we have to talk about them. So, let's get on to the next one. Do you like doing tons of damage? Of course you do. Who doesn't, right? So you queue up to play DPS and... Oh, crap! 20-minute average queue time for Stone Vigil hard. That's at least 18 minutes longer than your average attention span. So what do? Well, I've got just the thing. Play Gunbreaker, idiot! Playing Gunbreaker is a little-known method of sneaking a DPS player into the tank queue. Do you like a full rotation of gauge building, high burst damage, and constant double weaving? Of course you do! So play Gunbreaker! But what if I'm scared of tanking? What if the healer sucks and I die? What if I suck and I die? Bruh, literally, don't even worry about it. Gunbreaker 2.0 now features XCOG and Regen. That's right, just like Warrior, Gunbreaker can do the jobs of both healers. It's practically impossible to suck at it, so let's rough divide on in and learn how to correctly play Gunbreaker. Step 1. Double Down is the best button in the game. Want to deal 1200 potency to your target and slightly less to everything nearby? Yes! Pressing double down every 60 seconds is known to cure depression and most diseases. Also, eating a diet composed entirely of KFC double downs will increase your Gunbreaker damage by 10%, and pressing double down every 60 seconds will probably cure you of the side effects from eating a diet composed entirely of KFC double downs. Studies pending. No other part of your rotation matters, just make sure you have 2 cartridges every 60 seconds so you can double down. Step 2. Scholars hate him. Ever since Endwalker, Gunbreaker has Heart of Corundum, which is basically a Scholar XCOG, every 25 seconds. If you ever think your healer is having too much fun, just spam Heart of Corundum and render him obsolete. Assert your dominance by never needing a healer, and put your Aurora heals on your party members to even further erode the usefulness of your friendly neighborhood green DPS. And most importantly, to drive the point home, you must always... only Superbolide while Benediction is on cooldown, and that'd be step 3. The Superbolide sound effect is every healer's alarm clock tone. If you want to wake up Greenie, press Superbolide just whenever the heck you feel like it. Bolide invulns for 10 seconds but sets your health to 1, but you still have so much self-heal that it doesn't even matter, so you get the benefit of scaring your healer senseless and then instantly healing yourself with Corundum, thus reminding them that their fears are irrational and you still don't need them. Because as a tank player, and especially a Gunbreaker, your primary job is to troll your party members relentlessly while simultaneously carrying them through everything. Step 4. Tokyo Drift. The nuance of Gunbreaker is keeping your abilities aligned so that all your damage buttons fall into your 20-second no mercy damage buff every 60 seconds. The nuance of Chad is simply not caring and pressing whatever button at whatever time and probably still out DPSing the rest of the party. Step 5. Glam. Gunbreakers fundamentally have the best glam of any tank, and you should flex this fact at every opportunity. Want to be a sick Chad in an awesome jacket? Well, want no longer, because that's basically every Gunbreaker glam. It is a literal requirement that your Gunbreaker glam must be good, or you lose 15% of your DPS. It is essential as a Gunbreaker that you must slay whilst you're slaying. You must break a leg while you break guns. You have to look fabulous while you gnashing fang, jugular rip, savage claw, abdomen tear, wicked talon, eye gouge. So yeah. There's a reason they call it Funbreaker. This is one of the best jobs in the game with the power to troll like almost no other. Once you go Gunbreaker, you'll wonder why the heck you ever wasted your time with any other job. Final Fantasy XIV is a tank's world and everyone else is just living in it. So simply be the tank. Want to do basically the exact same thing that Gunbreaker does, but kinda emo? Enter the Dark Knight. No family, no friends, no sunshine, no happiness. Only retribution, justice, recompense. I am vengeance. I am the Knight. I am Batman. Dark Knight. A Dark Knight is a job you play because you like the aesthetic. It has a cool theme and a cool story, and that's really all you need to know. Who cares about tanking techniques, surviving dungeon pulls, leading the party, or any of that lame crap? All you need is a super edgy glam, a gigantic anime sword, and a brooding nature. Everything else is just button mashing, and that's basically what the rotation is anyway, so it's obviously what the devs intended. So let's have a look at how to correctly play Dark Knight. What? Sorry. Step 1. Constantly remind everyone that the Dark Knight story is the best. All that matters is the drama of your duality with Frey and the resonant, edgy tones of emo poetry made manifest. Are you tired of helping peasants out of the sheer kindness of your heart? Wouldn't you rather berate them and treat them like crap because they're just an inconvenience to you? Of course you would. As all heroes would, right? It's the same reason that Alphino started the Crystal Braves in post-ARR, and as you know, Alphino is a hero of the highest caliber with divine levels of foresight and proactivity. And remember to forget that the Stormblood arc of the job quest is mid-AF. Step 2. Jet Black is the only acceptable dye color for Dark Knight. If you're a broke chump with soot black or dark purple, you're dealing less damage than a Chad with jet black. A Dark Knight in any other color than black is not a Dark Knight and should go play Gunbreaker instead. You're literally ruining the entire game by not wearing black as a Dark Knight, and I'm going to tell my friend's uncle who works for Square Enix to ban you. Step 3. Literally button mash. Dark Knight has like a million weaves, and I don't think it even matters what order most of them go in. All you need to do is fill your blood gauge and then press everything, and I guess stuff dies. I don't actually know how to play this job, but that's just it. No one does. Sometimes you're casting spells, sometimes you're swinging a sword, sometimes you're summoning things. Dark Knight is basically every DPS combined, and the rotation is just face rolling your keyboard until everything is on cooldown. Step 4. I guess it's a tank? I almost forgot this was a tank. You have your usual abilities like Rampart and whatnot, but while doing the most damage of the blue DPS jobs, Dark Knight sucks the most at tanking damage. Until just recently, the invuln used to just kill you, so you literally got punished for trying to tank damage. Therefore, you should say screw all that tank crap and just let the healer figure it out. You're too busy pressing every button on your keyboard anyway, so if you suck at mitigating, just accuse the healer of having skill issues and be sure to remind them that your job quest is better than theirs. Step 5. The Blackest Knight is pretty cool. In addition to having the most hardcore name of any mitigation, the Blackest Knight is also just one of the best mits. Everyone wants to have 25% shields every 15 seconds, but only Dark Knight gets that Chadley honor. And shield healers, but no one plays those, so whatever. But wait! There's more! You also get a free cast of one of your abilities when the shield breaks, so have fun trying to min-max that crap into your clown party of a rotation. You can also put the Blackest Knight on your teammates, so if a Dark Knight was capable of feeling sympathy, they might be able to save some poor chump in a pinch. But let's be real here. You're too busy brooding and saying edgy one-liners to pay attention to your teammates' health bars. That's the healer's job, and as we've already established, Dark Knight has a better job quest than them, so screw them. So yeah, it's 100% guaranteed that every male Al-Ra in the game will play Dark Knight, but it's also worth checking out for the rest of the player base. It's impossible to tell the difference between sucking at Dark Knight and being good at Dark Knight, and if you suck at it, it's the healer's fault anyway. So get out there and do some crimes. I mean, justice! delicious cider. Do you want to play tank, but in the most meh and uninteresting way possible? How about having your entire job identity diluted down to the fact that you're the only one left that still uses offhand equipment? Well, you're in luck, because here in Final Fantasy XIV, we've got Paladin. It's the only tank that uses a shield, and that's the only thing special about it at all. It's a job so dull and uninteresting that Yoshi P had to scam people into playing it by making it the poster job of Endwalker. Except that caused everyone to realize that it was unintuitive in the current state of the game due to having a uniquely long rotation, and as a result it's been reworked into an even deeper blandness. It also has the worst questline in the entire game, meaning there's virtually no reason to play it at all. But what if you wanted to play Paladin? Well, in that case, I'll teach you how to correctly play it. Step 1. Shield Bash was once godly. In the days of A Realm Reborn, there were still enemies in the game that weren't stun immune. You could interrupt a ton of boss cast bars by stunning them, but most jobs couldn't stun more than once per 30 seconds. Enter Paladin. What's that, you say? The ability to stun every single GCD with no limit. Oh yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes! Abusing Shield Bash and ARR content is some of the most fun you can have on Paladin. It even works on Dungeon Trash, since you can spam it to stop ads from hitting you if you've overpulled. So what will become of this awesome button at a higher level on one of the most button-bloated classes in the game? Nothing. The ability never grows nor changes, and it eventually just becomes completely useless in most scenarios. The devs will probably remove it next expansion, LMAO. But until then, have a little fun when you queue into low-level content, and don't be afraid to mash the bash. It's pretty satisfying. Step 2. Only cowards turn off animations. The most notable thing about Paladin and Endwalker is that half of your abilities drop 1,000,000 gigantic swords from the sky. To truly appreciate Paladin, you must keep the effects turned on so you can gaze in awe at the job with the flashiest effects doing the least damage out of any tank. Enjoy those pretty effects, because it's probably the only thing you'll enjoy while playing this job. Step 3. Clemency is Giga Chad, no further questions. Unlike the other tanks that pretend to be healers by having weaves that they can put on their teammates, Paladin has a full-on GCD spell that costs MP and everything. Want to assert your dominance and make your healers big mad? Simply stop dealing damage and cast 5 consecutive gigantic heals on whoever you want. That's right, if you get too bored of playing tank, you can just be a healer instead without ever switching jobs. Pair this with a handful of other self-healing abilities and you can elbow your green friends out of the way and take over all the heals yourself. If they get mad, just remind them that you have nothing to live for anymore. Step 4. Passage of Arms. Is there anything cooler than planting your shield in front of your entire party and blocking a ton of damage for them as long as they stand behind you? It's the ultimate tank ability and unprecedented cinematic satisfaction. Sure, you lose uptime for every second that you sustain this ability because you can't attack while doing it, but that's a small price to pay for being so freaking cool. All of your party members will worship you like the god that you are as you hold out a full, uninterrupted 18-second passage of arms. And in that one moment, for those 18 long seconds, your white mage will wonder if maybe she should stop chasing the warrior and give the paladin a chance. Step 5. She won't, though. Step 6. Invisible shield is the correct shield. I almost forgot to mention glam because all paladin glams are just generic knight armor. Remember how I said having a shield was basically the only identity paladins have left? Yeah, well, I hate to break it to you, but all the shields in this game are ugly as sin, and the correct way to play Paladin is to use the Emperor's new shield to make your shield invisible. This way, you can look like a Chad sword fighter without that virginity protector tied around your offhand. So yeah, that's all you need to know about Paladin. Go swing a sword or something. It might be fun. So yeah, what have we got next? Oh boy. Oh boy. Now it's time to talk about healers. And what better place to start than the quintessential healer? It's also considered to be the easiest job in the game, and for good reason. I'm of course talking about White Mage. Now a lot of you might be thinking, how can White Mage be the easiest job in the game when it's a healer responsible for managing everyone's health and keeping the party alive? Isn't that super stressful and demanding? To that I say, LMAO. Remember what we just got done learning about tanks? That's right, the tanks these days can pretty much handle all the healing themselves, so unless you're doing high-level raids, you barely need to know what you're doing as a healer, and you'll probably find that most healers don't know what they're doing, so let's get into it. How to correctly play White Mage. Let's see. Step 1. Just cast Glare the whole time and don't do anything else. With the launch of Endwalker, all healers got promoted to DPS, so all you really need to do is damage. Furthermore, enemies can't kill your party if they're dead, so in a way, dealing damage is kind of a form of healing. Probably. Step 2. Use your lilies, but only for fun. White Mage after Heavensward gets 3 stacks of lilies per minute, which are used for your general purpose healing. Eventually you unlock a Flatus Misery, which is a big damage spell that's charged by using 3 lilies. It's equivalent to the damage you would have done just by casting Glare, but since it's all doled out in one hit, you get to see some really big damage numbers. Thus, the only reason to heal as a White Mage is to charge up a big hit once a minute so you can satisfy all your large number-related desires. After all, you're a DPS now. Step 3. Save Benediction for yourself after you get rezzed. Let's face it, you're going to die at some point and you're probably going to get resurrected. But getting resurrected sucks because you respawn with barely any health. So what better place to use a guaranteed full heal on a 3-minute cooldown? You could probably get a lot of value out of Benediction if you used it strategically in coordination with your tanks and whatnot. Or you could never ever use it except to restore your own health after you died and got brought back. And let's be honest, you're the only one on the team who deserves a benediction. Let those other peasants suffer. Those ingrates should be perfectly capable of sustaining themselves off of your incidental ass size heals. And speaking of getting rezzed, Step 4. Make a cringy res macro. As a healer, you'll probably be responsible for peeling noobs off the floor when they wipe out. Who cares if they died because you refuse to heal them? If second wind is on cooldown, any death is certifiably not your problem. But make sure that when you do need to res someone, it's via the most cringy and embarrassing res macro you can think of. It should be utterly patronizing and include as much uwu speak as possible. This asserts dominance over the dead noobs and reminds them to not suck so bad. Step 5. Holy is the best ability in the game. It will damage your eyesight, but it's totally worth it. Besides, being blind won't make a difference anyway because of Step 6. Never learn any mechanics. Final Fantasy XIV is an avatar chat room that happens to have some combat attached. As a healer, your role is always the most in demand because no one else wants to play it, and half the time you don't either. Because the problem with healing dungeon roulettes is that you can't do it while posing at the Limsa Aetherite in the skimpiest glam you could afford. With such priorities as glamming, RPing, and ERPing, there's no time in your busy schedule to learn how to play the game, and there's no reason to anyway. With the power of healing privilege, you not only get instant queue times for any content, you also barely have to know what you're doing because you can fix all of your own mistakes by spam healing and pretending nothing ever happened. And that's one of the beautiful things about White Mage. Since no one wants to play healer and White Mage has the best raw healing output, no one will ever question you if it seems like you don't know what you're doing. Even though tanks are so powerful now that they no longer rely on healers to determine if they live or die, they can't queue into content without a healer due to the role restrictions. So while their life is no longer in your hands, you still have the leverage due to healer scarcity making queue times longer. A party won't dare to kick you out because it'll take 15 minutes to find a replacement who might be just as crap. So rejoice in the glory of mediocrity and fish for free cures all you want. Ahem. And so we come to Scholar. This is my main, and therefore it's the best job in the entire game. I chose to main this job because it sounded complicated and difficult, and funnily enough, it actually isn't. But everyone thinks it's complicated and difficult, which gives scholars an unparalleled air of prestige. Kneel before the scholar, you serfs! So how does one go about learning to play this allegedly challenging job? Well, let's take a look. Step 1. Selene is the only fairy. Stop trying to make Eos happen. Eos is never happening. Though they tried, the devs are not powerful enough to remove Selene. When Yoshi P goes to sleep, he checks under his bed for Selene. Selene doesn't check under her bed before going to sleep because Selene never sleeps. She spends her nights under Yoshi P's bed. Oh my god. She spends her nights under Yoshi P's bed, daring him to try removing energy drain again. So yeah, Selene is pretty buff, and it's a good thing because Step 2. Selene does all the work. As a Scholar player, your job is to cast Broil and cast Energy Drain. Recitation is the only Scholar heal which isn't a DPS law, so healing is strictly for your co-healer and your Selene. Ask not what you can do for your Selene, but what your Selene can do for you. The answer? Everything. Outsource all of your healing to Selene. It's what she's there for. And then, when all's said and done, you can repair with a mandatory unpaid vacation inside your stomach, because you needed more Aether to cast more energy drains. Step 3. Eat Selene as often as possible. Like I just alluded to, eating Selene gives you 3 more stacks of Aether, i.e. 3 more energy drains. Therefore, you should cast Dissipate whenever you can. But who's going to heal while Selene is dissipated? Your co-healer, obviously. And if you don't have a co-healer, just make the tank do it. You're way too busy dealing damage, and most of your heals suck anyway. Anyone that needs health will just have to wait until Selene comes back. If they don't have enough self-heals to last that long, then their deaths are simply unavoidable. Step 4. Fake it till you make it. The only people who know what scholars actually do are scholar players, and only a fraction of them actually get it. So just pretend that whatever you're doing is super complicated and important, even though you're just spamming broil while your fairy heals everyone. Cause it's a lot of work to do a recitation emergency tactics ad loquium while protraction is on cooldown, but you'll gladly supplement the tank's survivability with an illuminated Fey Union. Step 5. Change Stratagem is the only button that matters. Like I just said, no one actually knows what scholars do, except for Change Strat. Change Strat is one of the strongest abilities in the entire game. It's a 15-second debuff that makes a target take more critical hits. Therefore, any job that does a lot of critical hit damage, which is all of them, really wants that Change Strat. It's a 2-minute buff, and it must be aligned with every other 2-minute buff in the party to maximize the results. If you drift your Change Strat for even a few seconds, you'll be banned from the game, and your computer will be confiscated by law enforcement. I'm on my 17th computer after playing Scholar for 2 years, so as you can imagine, I've learned to not drift Change Strat. Step 6. Yoshi P is out to get us. In the glory days of Scholar, you could stack so many shields with deployment tactics that it not only could skip entire raid mechanics, but even get people killed because it blocked so much damage that certain mechanics broke. I'm new to the game, but if you ask any longtime players about how strong Scholar used to be pre-Shadowbringers, you'll get several essays on what once was. The greatest threat to Scholar supremacy are the devs that fear us, and therefore we must constantly complain that they are ruining the job anytime it gets changed in any way. Fortunately, vocal Scholar players have prevented such disasters as the removal of energy drain, so who knows what could happen without that kind of pushback? Well, I'll tell you who knows. Paladin players. But I digress. Play Scholar, it's great. Or you could try something different. Have you ever wanted to be a Scholar but slightly worse in every way? I can't imagine why you wouldn't, so let's talk about Sage. Sage is the lazy man Scholar. It does most of the same things with slightly less janky tech, so it's a great way for people to play shield healer without having to figure out the nuances of how pet abilities interact with netcode. And instead of some lame old book, your primary weapon is a set of 4 flying ding-dongs that shoot lasers. Wait, what? Yeah, that's right. Gone are the days of swords and sorcery. This is a Final Fantasy game after all, so anything goes. So who's to stop us from having a medical doctor class that uses 4 flying laser guns to fight? No one, that's who. But how do you play that job correctly? Well, Step 1. Forget to apply Cardia. Sage has an ability called Cardia that can be applied to one member of the party. While they have it, small amounts of damage done by the Sage will translate into healing for that person. Sounds pretty dumb, right? Right. So every time you queue into a piece of content, all you have to do is forget to ever press this button and miss out on all that free healing. It's only a little bit, so you probably won't miss it. Step 2. Eucrasia sucks, so don't use it. Why the heck do you have to press one button before you press another button just to cast one spell? Back in my day, one ability was one button. Pressing Eucrasia to renew your DOT or do a spot heal is annoying and I hate it. Just think, the time you spend clicking Eucrasia could instead be spent casting Dosis, and that sounds like a better use of time to me. Step 3. Give everybody Pepsis. One of the truly admirable qualities of Sage is to give the entire party Pepsis. That's right, a nice tall can of delicious, refreshing, incredible Pepsi. The primary function of Sage is to deliver drinks to the party, so make sure you press that Pepsis button every time it's off cooldown, cause saving the world is thirsty business. And what better way to rejuvenate than a nice caramel-colored cola that's chock full of caffeine? Try some delicious Pepsis today. Not sponsored. Probably. Step 4. Phlegma. Step 5. Balls. Phlegma does some damage and some healing, but mostly it does damage. So as you know, if a button does damage, then the damage takes precedence. So you can either spam this one whenever it's off cooldown, or be a tactical Chad and time it with the 2-minute burst windows. But as long as you're pressing the button and doing Chad damage, it's probably fine. Step 6. Numa. Numa yay. Numa yay. Chi putaushi dragostading te, miamin task deo chitai. Pneuma is one of those buttons that does everything. It's a bunch of damage and a big laser beam and also a gigantic heal to everyone nearby. And you can preempt it with Zoe for a 50% heal buff to do even more heals, and I'm definitely not jealous. I don't see why any scholar would ever be jealous of a big laser beam that does a ton of healing. Don't play Sage, play Scholar. It's better, I promise. Now then, what's next? A common misconception in this game is that healing is hard. It's actually pretty easy, unless you play Astrologian. Have you ever wanted to work way harder than anyone else in your role just to do as much healing as a white mage who's barely trying? Oh boy, here comes Astrologian. If you thought the flying laser ding-dongs were stupid, wait till you get a load of this weapon. It's a globe with a bunch of cards flying around it, complemented by a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Disk that goes on your hip. I don't know, bro, this crap is really weird, and if you think that's wacky, just wait till I tell you about Astrodyne. So how do you correctly play Astrologian these days? Step 1. Literally don't. Astro's getting reworked in the next expansion. Actually, it gets reworked every expansion. Every single one. So if you haven't played it yet, you might be better off to wait till 7.0 because it could turn out to be completely different. And with recent trends, it probably will. But as a Chad healer main who definitely hasn't neglected Astro since Shadowbringers, I will gladly tell you how to play the job if for some reason you still want to. Step 2. Astrodyne. More like Astro dying. Imagine if maximizing your damage output relied on an annoying RNG system that you had to interact with every 15 seconds by juggling cards and hoping you get the right seals to buff yourself. Yep, that's Astrodyne. I don't feel bad for saying I hate it because I'm pretty sure it hates me too. Keeping up with this crap is a nightmare and bad luck can screw you over, so the best approach is to be a casual gamer Chad and just pretend the whole thing doesn't exist. In fact, stop drawing cards altogether. Just play White Mage! Step 3. Good luck comprehending your tooltips. Astro tooltips are basically novels and it's pretty annoying just to parse what the heck they're trying to tell you. I'll show you what I mean. This is the tooltip for Earthly Star, and Horoscope, and Macrocosmos. I recommend saving yourself the headache and just pressing whichever button is pretty. Most of them heal and a lot of them deal damage, so you could probably just face roll it and get by. No one knows what the heck Astros do anyway, so no one can tell if you suck. Step 4. Act mysterious. An even better way to disguise the fact that you have no idea what you're doing is to constantly act aloof. Say weird things and recite fortune cookies to make everyone think you're some kind of enlightened mystical guru. That way, when you completely botch your heals or fail Astrodyne 8 times in a row, you can just play it off as the will of the cards or astral fate or some crap. You can either play Astrologian or you can play Astrologian. You can either go all in on reading tooltips and figuring all that nonsense out, or you can just speak in riddles and convince everyone that you read the tooltips. Step 5. Your glam can be literally anything. Astro is one of those jobs that technically has a job identity, but the correct way to play Astro is to make your glam anything at all. It can be a sexy Limsa glam, a full suit of armor, generic robes, or casual suburbanite soccer mom attire. Astro is one of the few jobs that doesn't feel wrong in any glam, so you might as well take advantage of that and get wild. So yeah, now that you know everything you need to know about Astro, if your whole party dies, just blame it on the cards. Oh man, yeah, and that's it. That's the end of our healers. So it's time to move into some DPS. Let's talk about Samurai. Ah, lovely. Sorry, I was taking a drink. It's thirsty business yelling at all y'all. So, for Samurai, I played Samurai once, and as you can see, I parsed a 1. That means I was the #1 Samurai who cleared that fight on that day. In fact, this score still stands as one of the best P6S runs ever, and I was so far ahead of the curve that I managed to pull this off without using a single Ogi Namakiri. Yoshi P himself has confirmed that this parse was the actual reason he decided to remove Kaiten several months prior to the parse having been logged. And it's a good thing he did that, because if he hadn't, you wouldn't be able to play Samurai correctly. You see, about 90% of playing Samurai is complaining that Kaiten got removed. If you haven't kept the defunct Kaiten button on your hotbar since its removal, you are officially a fake gamer. But in that case, what's the other 10% of playing Samurai? Well, allow me to enlighten you. Step 1. Meditate in every fight. If you aren't using Meditate and forcing your party to play Samurai relative strats, you might be missing out on 0.5% of damage, and that's what we like to call cringe. You have to clear your mind so you can drift your entire rotation and just play freestyle instead. Obviously. Step 2. Use the throw combo because it looks cool. You chose to play Samurai for a reason, and that reason is because it's cool. Style points actually do increase your damage points, and thus you must work in as many throw combos as possible because it looks cool. It doesn't matter if you need a gap close or not, just do it because it's awesome. And if your dash is on cooldown when you need to move, just RP walk instead, since that's the next coolest way to close gaps. You can also disregard the arena and any hazards. If you backflip off the edge, it doesn't count as a death as long as you look cool while you're doing it. Step 3. Demand all of the buffs. As a samurai, you're dealing more damage than everyone else. That means you need all of the party buffs so that you can do even more damage. No one else deserves any buffs because you're carrying them after all. You should get every single Astro card regardless of sect. Dragon Eye, Warden's Pion, just because you deserve it. Dance Partner, because it's the only way you can get someone to dance with you ever since Kathy rejected you at high school prom. And no, you're not still upset about it. You don't even remember her name! Also, if the Scholar Drift's chain strat, you must rage quit and report everyone in the party. They'll be banned within a fortnight, which is also known as a victory royale. Step 4. Never use Third Eye. Third Eye is a mitigation. Mitigations are for tanks. And who cares if it fills up your gauge because... Step 5. Complain about chitin being removed. Your life is hollow without chitin. All your victories are meaningless. Your accomplishments are null. There's no feeling left in your existence, and your very soul fades with each passing day that separates you further from your beloved. Soon, all that will be left of you is an honorable seppuku. But they've probably removed that button too. How will you ever recover from this quagmire? From this eternal darkness that ravages your pathetic, chitinless soul? Well... the only way forward is to embrace the darkness, to harness it, mold it to your very will, and let it become your newfound strength. That's right, you must play Reaper! Embrace the shadows, become the night, fall into the void, shop at Hot Topic, put on your eyeliner, listen to My Chemical Romance. It's time to play Reaper! Because the devs just can't help themselves and seem to be bent on this trend of adding new melees every expansion, we got Reaper. It's another melee that does melee things. You fill up a gauge and then you empty the gauge and your brain does a happy. As with most other melees, the only reason to play this one is because it has a cool aesthetic. After all, your parents will never understand you, but the void-sent demon that occasionally possesses your body knows you better than anyone. And if that sounds like something you're into, then pay attention as I teach you how to correctly play Reaper. Alright, step 1. Always forget to apply Death's Design. What's Death's Design and what does it even do? I don't know, I forgot. It's probably not important, right? The trouble with pesky debuffs that you have to keep active on your targets to do 10% more damage is that you have to constantly refresh them, and you're too busy trying to figure out which order of Gibbet Gallows Guillotine is the most poetic so that you can kill your enemies in style. You're not some kind of math nerd that gets bogged down in percentages after all. You chose Reaper because you wanted to swing a scythe around and rage against the machine. You won't do what tooltips tell you. Step 2. Side-eye all Dark Knights. 2 jobs can't both be edgy and brooding. One of you is going to have to change. Who cares if Dark Knight has been around longer? Dark Knights are old and out of style. As a Reaper, it's your time to shine, and Dark Knights are seriously cramping your style. How are you supposed to be a misunderstood and complicated individual when there's an entire black parade of Dark Knights pretending they know how you feel? Yoshi P should delete Dark Knight so that Reaper can be as cool as it deserves to be. But until that happens, it is fundamentally part of the Reaper rotation to gaze with scorn upon any Dark Knight players you encounter. Step 3. Write sins, not tragedies. As a former samurai main, you already know what it means to be a selfish DPS. As a Reaper, you must double down on this. You might as well take Arcane Crest off your hotbar because the primary effect of shielding yourself is technically a mitigation, and as you well know, mitigations are for tanks. The secondary effect of healing your party after the shield breaks is self-evidently a heal, and healing is also for tanks. Basically, none of that crap is your job, so as a Reaper, it is expressly your responsibility to never use Arcane Crest in a way that would be helpful. You'd rather bleed the freak than be a freak on a leash. Step 4. Use Hell's Ingress all the time. The best part about playing Reaper by far is the ability to teleport forward with Hell's Ingress. Reaper is the obligatory job for running around doing whatever it is you do, because nothing is more satisfying than zipping forward every 20 seconds to get around faster. And the even better part is that every time you do, it leaves a gate behind. That means not only do you get to travel faster than most others, but you also get to leave a trace to remind them that you're traveling faster than them. Sure, you might misjudge the distance sometimes and throw yourself off the edge, but you're totally breaking the habit. Besides, as we've established, dying doesn't count if you look cool while doing it. Step 5. Tip your hat a lot. All the cool kids are doing it. You are also a cool kid. Therefore, you are doing it too. Even though there's no hat tip emote yet, we are obligated to create a hat tip macro and use it at any opportune time because that's just what Reapers do. And yes, Viera and Hrothgar are not able to play Reaper correctly. If you're playing one of these races, it is in the TOS that you must Fantasia in order to legally play Reaper. You know... Sorry. Alright, now for our next job. You know, the ancient Japanese ninja was a stealthy assassin that used any necessary tricks to go unnoticed in order to spring surprise attacks on strategic enemies. They used all kinds of wacky disguises and tools to carry around, to try and covertly, take out heavily guarded targets. And then anime came along and threw all that out the window. Now a ninja is someone who dresses in the brightest possible clothes, flips around for style points, and casts magic spells to throw fireballs and summon mythological beasts. They engage in open combat with tiny knives and pocket-sized tools because it's freaking awesome, even though there's zero reason to use a stealth-sized weapon in a head-on confrontation. And since FF14 is a weeb game, the devs decided to just copy a bunch of crap directly from Naruto and they added ninja to the game. Thus we got Yugiri and her elite shadow assassins summoning hell frogs, throwing fireballs, using shadow clones, no harm in giving the weebs what they want, I suppose. And speaking of weebs, hello there! If you can name more than 32 Naruto characters, you're probably already a ninja main, but that doesn't mean you have any actual idea what you're doing. Therefore, I will now teach you how to correctly play ninja. Step 1. Drift. As a ninja, you have not one, but 2 damage buffs, one for the party and one for yourself. Thus, every 60 seconds, you must activate either one or both buffs. As you can imagine, that's a lot of hassle, especially when you're busy hunting wabbits. So ignore all that crap about metas and alignments and just drift your buffs all over the place. Who cares if Mug lines up with Trick Attack? Sounds like somebody else's problem. Step 2. Did someone say bunnies? Ninja is the only job in the game with a hard fail state. You see, to use your stupid magic ninja spells, you have to memorize different combinations of so-called mudras. There are like 5 of these things, and all your biggest damage dealers rely on correctly combining them. So what happens if you enter an invalid combination? GG, idiot! No spell gets cast and a stupid bunny appears on your head. And unlike the happy bunnies of Eureka, these ones won't lead you to any treasure. They're basically just there to mock you for sucking, idiot. Also, you may have noticed that the bunny ears on your head, you may have noticed that the bunny appears on your head. In a way, that means it's a hat. Since Viera are not legally allowed to wear hats, they are obviously not permitted to play ninja. Don't blame me, the law is the law. Step 3. We are fighting Dream Within a Dreamers. Ninja has a weave ability called Dream Within a Dream. I don't actually have anything witty to say about it, I just thought this step was funny. Ollie, 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 just go my way. That song is now stuck in your head. Step 4, get a chiropractor. Seriously, that posture has got to be utterly destroying your back. Go talk to a spine doctor or something. If you aren't regularly getting your back checked out, there's a pretty good chance you're going to run into some problems later in life. Step 5, always run around with your weapons drawn. The single best reason to play ninja is because it comes with not only a unique running animation, but also a unique jumping animation. Who cares if you've got nowhere to be? Running around at the speed of fast and flipping all over the place is certifiably more fun than 60% of all instances in the game anyway. Pretend you're a parkour legend. Pretend you're a speedrunner. Pretend you're a weeaboo pretending you're Naruto. Storm Area 51 right now. You can't be stopped. Step 6. My lawyers have asked me to clarify that my call to storm Area 51 was a joke and that we do not encourage trespassing in government facilities. Step 7. Unless you want to see aliens. Yeah, so anyway, all that talk about mudras and bunnies sounds pretty annoying and complicated, right? Well, actually, it's pretty easy when you get the hang of it. A lot easier than you think. But up next is the exact inverse of that. Here we find ourselves at Monk. You see, most people would assume this job is really easy. All it does is punch and kick and stuff. So how bad could it be? Well, turns out there's a pretty common consensus among experienced players that this punchy boy is the hardest job to play in the entire game, or at the very least, the busiest. Personally, I tend to disagree, and here's why. Step 1. Dragon Kick! Literally just spam Dragon Kick and you'll never need to know how to do any stupid rotations. What's that? 320 potency every single GCD? Correct. You could break a sweat trying to hit every positional and trying not to botch your minute-long build-up to tornado kick, or you could press one button and accomplish similar results. Probably. If you have anything other than Dragon Kick on your hotbar as a monk player, you have not yet achieved enlightenment. The true Chads, the veritable Buddhas of gaming, know that Dragon Kick is the only way. Step 2. Replace Riddle of Earth with Dragon Kick. For some reason, the devs randomly decided to nerf Riddle of Earth a few patches ago. It used to be a stackable shield that gave Monk godlike tanking abilities. Personally, I think Yoshi P correctly recognized that monks were spending too many GCDs trying to mitigate when mitigating is clearly for tanks. By making Riddle of Earth a lot weaker, Mr. P has given us a clear sign that we should instead be dragon kicking more often. Thus, you might as well pull Riddle of Earth off your hotbar and replace it with Dragon Kick. That way, if you ever instinctively reach for your mitt button, it'll just execute another Dragon Kick instead. And Dragon Kick is better than a mitt 14 times out of 10. What's this? Sorry. Oh, that's the pin. Okay, sorry. I got distracted a little bit. Step 3. Pretend you're a tank for old time's sake. I know we just talked about how Riddle of Earth got nerfed into obscurity, but just because it sucks now doesn't mean we must forget about all that time in the past when it was good. After all, if you've been playing Monk for more than one patch, then you're probably used to acting like a tank and getting away with it due to your coveted Monk privilege. Well, even if Monk is a lot softer now, you might as well still pretend you're a tank. You don't have any ranged attacks, so of course you're going to stand in the occasional AoE in order to maintain Dragon Kick uptime. If you die, it's your healer's fault. Which leads us to Step 4. Mantra is Giga Chad. Why the heck does Monk of all classes have a button that buffs the entire party's healing? Honestly, I have no idea. But let's talk about practical application. As stated, Mantra buffs healing to the party. Thus, the correct usage of Mantra is as a means of telling your healers that they suck. If you find that your chumpy green DPS players are falling 10% short of healing output, you can either obsoletize them with Second Wind and Bloodbath, or you can cast Mantra to help your entire party obsoletize them with Second Wind and Bloodbath. Yes, Mantra is a signal that your healers aren't healing enough, and it further postulates that even though your healers are in your party, they can still catch these hands. Step 5. If you chose Ochaka, you're wrong. People who have done the Monk job quests know what I'm talking about. Dizensa is clearly the correct choice. My waifu is better than yours, and I will be taking no further questions at this time. Step 6. All Monk weapons suck. Almost every Monk weapon in the game is terrible, looks terrible, and should be abolished. The only way to play Monk correctly is to use the Emperor's New Fists to turn your weapon invisible. A job about punching things barehanded should in fact punch things barehanded. There's no need to put ridiculous cinder blocks on your fists. A true Chad recognizes that gloves aren't lit, so you must quit. Quit playing Monk, that is. 'Cause it's time to move on! As everybody knows, the only way to eat faraway cereal is with a long spoon. Thus, to eat faraway spaghetti, you need a long fork. Enter the Lancer. Master of the fork and master pole dancer. This job is unusually simple for a DPS, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The rotation doesn't change at all from level 50 to level 90, but again, that's not all bad. It means you can master it early and be an absolute Chad gamer for the remaining 40 levels of progress. So how does one correctly play Lancer? Step 1. True Thrust. This is the backbone of your kit as the first part of your main combo. It leads directly into Step 2. Vorpal Thrust. This is the second part of your combo. That leads into Step 3. Full Thrust. And there you have it. That's pretty much a majority of your gameplay. But aren't there a few extra buttons here? Yeah, that's right. So let's talk about them. Step 4. Disembowel and Chaos Thrust. After True Thrust, you actually have a branching combo that you do every so often. This includes Disembowel, which gives you a 10% damage buff for 30 seconds. That means you want to use it every 30 seconds because obviously doing more damage is why you chose to play Lancer in the first place. Disembowel then combos into Chaos Thrust, which adds a damage over time to whatever you hit with it. And that means even more damage! This class has got it all, and we haven't even covered the best ability. Step 5. Life Surge. Life Surge is a pretty sick button that guarantees a critical hit for your next skill, and it's available every 40 seconds. So since you're a smart cookie, I'll bet you're already piecing together how this all works. Excuse me. You run your branching combo for the damage buff and then build up a full thrust with Life Surge active. Wow, so much damage! That's like probably the most damage any job can do in a single hit. So by now you can clearly see why so many people play Lancer. I personally considered making it my new main as well, although there is one slight annoyance. Step 6. Ignore the quests. I don't know why you'd need to complete a quest to swing a lance around. I personally never bothered, and I've managed to get by just fine. Notice how this quest that they keep telling me to do is called My First Spear? Well, what kind of useless crap is that? The job is called Lancer, not Spearer. The weapon is clearly a lance, so I don't see how this quest could be of any benefit to me. By extension, it also can't possibly benefit you. So don't do it. It's a scam. Step 7. Why aren't there any gap closers? One thing that's strange about Lancer is that it seems to be the only melee that doesn't have any gap closing abilities. I got this class all the way to 90 and at no point did I unlock any mobility skills. It kinda sucks just having to run up to every enemy and not having some way of getting there faster. You'd think the devs would add pole vaulting or something considering the pole arms this job uses for weapons, but until then, keep your running shoes ready. Also, speaking of things this job is missing. Step 8. Chads only engage in single combat. Lancer has no form of AoE, which means you can only ever attack a single target at a time. This is fine because it's gentlemanly and honorable. Why would you ever want to fight more than one enemy at once? That doesn't sound like alpha behavior. Real gamers 1v1 on Zanzibar, and since you're obviously a real gamer if you're playing Lancer, then you should be getting exactly what you expect out of this job. Ultimately, it's the best DPS class, and I don't know why you'd play anything else. It also gets tank glam, so you can further increase your Chad points by having big shoulder pads. What's not to love? But that brings us to the end of the melees. So then, what's next? Well. Do you like fighting at range? Firing projectiles from a safe distance and killing your enemies before they ever get close? How about shooting several arrows at once from a giant war bow? Or better yet, how about singing? Huh? Yep, there's no ranger and not really an archer. If you want to use a bow and arrow in FF14, you've got to learn to frickin' sing. For some reason, the only bow job in this game is Bard, which is just plain strange. Oh, what I'd give for a samurai-style longbowman class, but no. You get one bow job, and it's Bard. Idiot. Well, that sounds pretty frickin' lame, but I guess we should talk about how to correctly play it. Step 1. Sing me the song of your people. As a bard, you have a handful of songs that you're supposed to be constantly playing on a rotation. Each song buffs you and your party in different ways, but since this game is balanced to the point of blandness, none of the buffs really do enough for anyone to notice. On the bright side, that means if you forget to sing or put your songs in the wrong order, no one will notice that either. In fact, as a physical range player, no one in the party is paying attention to you at any time, regardless of if you're good or bad at the game. So you should probably just use your songs and make sure that you're spacing them out so that there's always something up, but you can also just forget them completely and it's probably fine, right? Step 2. In a word, proc. The crux of Bard, especially if you're remembering to sing songs, is that basically none of your abilities follow an actual rotation. You're constantly waiting on abilities to randomly become ready based on which phase you're in, so you'll never hit the same buttons in the same order. That might sound exciting, but more often than not, it's just frustrating. If straight shot ready never procs, then you just never get to use straight shot. And you know what that means? Yeah, it means your DPS just sucks, LeMayo. Almost all of your skills are tied to some kind of RNG, so you never know when you're going to use each button nor how often you'll use them. So if your party catches you sucking, just tell them you aren't getting any procs. They can't even refute it. Probably. You'll be a master proctologist in no time. Step 3. All your weapons are ugly. Holy crap, it's so hard to find a good-looking bow in this game. The first thing you'll probably notice is that most of them aren't symmetrical. They probably shouldn't bother me as much as it does, but by golly am I bothered by it. On top of being asymmetrical, a large portion of bows also have some kind of built-in harp or other instrument, resulting in a really cluttered and sloppy look. I suppose it fits the chaotic nature of the job's gameplay, but it sure isn't doing any aesthetic favors. As a simple Chad with simple tastes, I always find myself going back to low-level ARR weapons for Bard glams, because they actually look like bows that an archer might actually use. Everything after level 45 is a big stupid nerf bow, and if you use one of those, you are not playing Bard correctly. Step 4. Backflip off the edge so you don't have to play Bard. The more time you spend dead, the less time you have to worry about juggling a bunch of ridiculous songs and praying that the gods will allow you to use half your abilities. Bard oddly has a backward dash, but no forward dash, and so the correct way to use this ability is to throw yourself off of arenas and pretend it was an accident. Hey, shut up, Windows. As we've already established, no one's paying attention to anything you're doing, so you can probably stay dead for a full 30 to 60 seconds before you have to get up and contribute again. Step 5. DOT BTW. For some reason, the devs left bards DOTs even though they no longer interact with other weapon skills. You used to need them on your target for certain procs to happen, but now they don't do anything but get on your nerves. Thus, until 7.0 comes along and the devs finally free us from the DOT, probably, you've got one extra thing to forget about while barding around. Yes. Keeping in theme with our first Fizz range, we come to another musical job, because nothing says long-range combat like, sexy belly dancing? Huh? Yeah, that's correct. In Eorzea, cabaret dancing is a form of combat. Obviously, none of you could have made it this far without already being well aware of the levels of shark jumping that happens in this game, but something about burlesque fighting really makes you take a step back and realize how far down the rabbit hole we've actually gone. So anyway, get your sashaying shoes on and I shall show you how to correctly play dancer. Step 1. Glam. Glamour is often the starting point for picking up any new job, but it's especially important with Dancer. In fact, for many, this will be the first and last step of playing the job. See, all the Dancer gear is super revealing, so if you're looking for a prime job to play while standing around the limbs of Aetherite, you can hardly choose a better one than Dancer. Dressing up your maximum slider bunny girl in battle lingerie is probably the whole reason you're paying your sub, so spare no expense in finding the absolute sleaziest combination of skimpy glams. Step 2. Never bother to learn anything. The beauty of Dancer, other than the physical beauty of course, is that the job practically plays itself. A majority of your gameplay is just pressing whichever button lights up. It's the MMO equivalent of a bop it. Your combos are randomized, but they always glow so you always know what to press. Sure, there's some alleged nuance with timing out your feathers and getting abilities lined up with burst window, but that sounds like effort, and if you wanted to put in effort, you wouldn't be playing Dancer. Step 3. Save the last dance for Samurai. You'd probably rather dance with someone awesome and cool like a warrior or a gunbreaker or even a ninja, but as you know, Samurai is contractually obligated to receive dance partner while in the party. You must pity dance with the Samurai as a consolation for them losing chitin. Well, I'm pretty sure there's some kind of priority system for who dance partner goes to based on crit scaling and eye level and blah blah blah. Just give it to the Samurai, it's easier. Let's be honest, half the time you're gonna forget to apply it anyway. Step 4. En avant is avant-garde. Can you imagine something more fun than a forward dash every 30 seconds, which stacks up to 3? Well, I can't. Other than sexy glams, the other correct reason to play Dancer is because you can skip around at lightning speed and leave everyone in the dust. It's also super good in combat and definitely will not ever cause you to die in horrible ways due to latency and snapshots. Use En Avant as often as possible. En Avanting off cooldown will increase your damage output and won't get you killed constantly. After all, what kind of dancer stands stock still while performing? It is your personal obligation to be in constant motion at all times of all fights. Your innocent feet are full of rhythm, and if anyone gets killed because of it, it's certifiably not your problem. Step 5. You're also a support, I guess? Dancer has a little bit of everything, including heals and mitts and shields. You're probably too busy chasing the bright lights to actually use any of them, but those handy little abilities sure are there. So yeah, if your healers aren't looking bored enough, be sure to use that curing waltz and improvisation. Always flex on those chumps because it's important to remind them that not only can you do their job, but you can do it while looking a lot better than they do. Now then, what's next? Ah yes. In a world full of gods and dragons and demons and goobos and all kinds of other weird stuff, you have a multitude of options for how best to deal with these fearsome creatures. From swords to spears to axes to arrows to sorcery. Any weapon you can imagine. So what will you use to take on the odds? A freaking gun, LeMayo! And it's gonna be so easy that you'll be done in time for lunch, so keep your trusty lunch pail close at hand too. That's right, it's time to play Machinist, the combat engineer job that shoots first and also shoots later. Yeah, mostly it just shoots. I feel like you can extrapolate that and the rest will be self-evident, but I guess I can give you the rundown anyway. So, how to correctly play Machinist? Step 1. Just shoot everything. Yeah, see, it's pretty self-evident. You have a gun, do crimes. Machinist skills include shooting your gun, shooting while spinning, shooting while jumping, shooting except the bullets are hot, shooting with magnets, and even summoning a turret to shoot for you. Basically, all you have to do is shoot everything and it will die. I don't think I need to explain the tactical advantage of bringing a gun to a knife fight, or any other kind of fight for that matter. No mythological beast is a match for a pocket rocket. Step 2. Never be in range of heals. As a machinist, you'll be far too busy sniping targets to worry about inane crap like positioning. It is your obligation as a range player to stay far away from harm. Nothing can hurt you if you're on the opposite side of the arena taking pot shots. It's highly likely that this behavior will land you out of range of your healer, meaning you won't catch any of their AoE heals. It is also highly likely that this is the healer's problem and you are not obligated to care. Step 3. Clip it like Clippy. Somehow we made it all the way to Machinist without discussing clipping, so allow me to explain what that is. Because some animations cannot be ended early, it's possible for your weave abilities to slow down the recast of your global cooldown if you try to do too many in between GCDs. Basically what that means is that chaining too many quick attacks together can botch the timing and result in your attacks being slower. There's no job where this is as evident as Machinist, due to the hypercharge phase. Basically your attack speed goes through the roof during this, but you also have a ton of weaves to keep up with at the same time, and if your ping sucks even a little bit, it's going to cause you to clip like crazy. So just embrace it. Clip them cheeks without a care in the world, because who cares about uptime anyway? Nerds, that's who. Step 4. Simp for the Automaton Queen. As an FF14 player, let's face it, getting a girlfriend is pretty low on the list of things you'll be doing anytime soon. But that's okay, because Machinist allows you to play out every gamer's true fantasy, building a GF out of scrap metal. This piece of sexy scrap royalty just kind of appears on your hotbar at level 80. She pops up to help you fight, refuses to elaborate, and then explodes. What's not to love? It's pretty much perfect waifu material, which is why the Automaton Queen sits squarely in the S rank of the waifu tier list. Anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong and stupid. Step 5. The saw is the law. The few abilities Machinist has that aren't gun are random tools like a chainsaw, a drill, and even a wrench. It's a bunch of dumb crap so brutal that it's basically straight out of Doom. So make sure your local reapers know that they'll never be as edgy as your saw blades, and when it comes to killing stuff with random gardening implements, you've been doing it better than them since Heavensward. And that's basically all you need to know. Shoot gun, achieve success. Machinist is squarely in the middle of the difficulty curve for Fizz range jobs, but I personally think it's the most fun out of the 3. Give it a try if you haven't already, because guns are fun and there's nothing more satisfying than popping a cap in a fool who looked at you funny. Ah yes. And what do we have next? Ahem. Are you a casual gamer with a great sense of fashion? Do you choose jobs just for the cool factor and the aesthetic? Well, let's be honest, we all do. And so why not play one of the coolest mainstays in the entire Final Fantasy series? Heck yeah, you already know what I'm talking about. It can only be Onion Knight. Nah, just kidding, they never added that. So we'll have to settle for the next best thing. Red Mage! So hop into your best musketeer costume and let's learn all about how awesome it is to correctly play Red Mage. Step 1. Stick a feather in your cap and call it macaroni. As a Red Mage player, 50% of your strength comes from your hat, and it had better have a feather in it. Wearing a gigantic gaudy hat is extremely important for most spellcasters, but it's especially important for Red Mage, which is legally required to have a flair for the dramatic. There's no point in being a wizard with a fencing sword if you don't look awesome while doing it. As with all hat-wearing jobs, this of course means that Viera and Hrothgar will never be able to play Red Mage properly. Don't blame me, I'm not Yoshi P. Step 2. You can be a melee. The number one reason to play Red Mage other than aesthetic is because it's the only caster that also has a melee phase. So if you want to play a melee with a really cool aesthetic, then you can just ignore all that magic crap and stick to your melee combo. Who needs dumb old spells and mana and any of that complicated nonsense when you could just cut all your problems with a sword instead? Melee-only Red Mage is awesome and totally not ineffectual. Get out there and swing your sword. Who's gonna stop you? The Pope? Step 3. Your mana balance is insufficient. If for some reason you do decide to use the other 70% of your kit and cast some spells, you'll find that it comes with this dumb and complicated gauge. Just look at this thing. It's 2 gauges in 1. How the heck do you even make sense of this thing? Well, basically you're meant to keep the light side and the dark side close in number, and the goal is to fill them both up. But if the numbers get too far apart from each other, your gauge generation slows down dramatically and you are certifiably a failure at life. But who says being a failure can't be fun? I say screw the rules and just press whatever button you want. If your gauges fall out of sync, just blame it on the healer. Step 4. Vercure, Veraise, Vercure, Veraise, Vercure, Veraise. That's right. As Red Mage, you are contractually allowed to blame your healers for 100% of your problems. And you know why? It's because of Veraise. Red Mage is the single best resurrection job in the game because it can rapid fire multiple reses due to the way its toolkit works. The single greatest thrill a Red Mage can get is racing with the healers to try and res dead teammates before they can. And half the time, you already have an instant cast prepared, so you don't even have to reach for the swift cast button. Always res targets faster than your healers to remind them that you don't need them, and you will never need them. Step 5. You are now addicted to dual cast. The hardest part about playing Red Mage is switching to any other caster after you've played Red Mage. The core of this job is dual cast, which is a trait that gives you an instant spell cast every time you cast a spell. So basically you hard cast one spell and then the next spell is instant cast. The dopamine hit of skipping the cast bar every other attack is a vicious cycle that will force you to play Red Mage forever. Excuse me. Step 6. Backflip off the Veredge. Let's face it, a core component to any job with a backward dash is jumping off the arena and dying. Red Mage is no exception. You should be doing this at least twice per fight. You see, since you're such a Giga Chad that keeps stealing all the reses from under your healers, the only time they get to feel useful is when you die. Thus, forcing the healers to res you so that you can get up and take over the resing is not only an assertion of dominance, it also keeps your healers from totally falling asleep and thus logging out. So, now you know everything you need to know to correctly play Red Mage. Get out there and have some fun, you idiots. And so we come to this. While we're on the subject of casters, let's talk about the quintessential Final Fantasy spellcasting job, Black Mage. It's another job renowned for its high skill floor and difficult optimization. Every job has its memes, and the Black Mage meme is literally standing still. Yep, the gimmick of this job is that every 2 minutes you have to stand still for 30 seconds. An entire quarter of playtime as Black Mage is dedicated to trying to move as little as possible. Simultaneously, you have to juggle MP regen against a ton of cooldowns and make sure everything lines up in a way that doesn't throw off your timing or cause you to drop your buffs. It's one of the few jobs in the game that actually is difficult to master, and often demands that the entire party plays around it in order to hit peak damage output. All that sounds pretty tough, so you might be wondering, how do I correctly play Black Mage? Well, allow me to enlighten you. Step 1. Don't. Summoner is better in almost every way, while also being much easier and more rewarding. Ever wanted to play a caster without cast times? Yeah, that's Summoner. What the heck is the point of using magic chalk circles to speed up cast times when you could just delete the cast times altogether and play like a Fizz range? Yeah, that's Summoner, baby. Just play that. It'll not only spare you a massive headache, but it's going to put out similar amounts of damage anyway. But what if you actually wanted to play Black Mage? Fine. If you want to be that stubborn, I guess I can teach you a thing or two about the second best caster. So let's get started. Step 2. Ice, Ice, Baby. Black Mage has 2 types of spell, fire and ice. All the fire spells hit really hard, but they also drain the heck out of your MP. Ice spells, on the other hand, cause you to regen MP rapidly. You could try to juggle the two to balance damage versus MP usage, or you could just stay in ice and cast forever. As long as you stick to just ice spells, you'll never run out of MP, and you won't even have to think about it. It might hurt your damage a bit, but it won't hurt your brain at all. And you don't play games to hurt your brain. You play games to hurt everyone else's brains. So just use ice. Step 3. Ley lines, more like ley lines, as in you're laying in them, because you're dead. Like I said in the intro, a quarter of your time as Black Mage is spent trying to stay in your ley lines to get a casting speed buff. As a Black Mage, the correct approach is to always prioritize dealing damage over everything else, including not only your party's health, but even your own health. If your ley lines happen to be in a place that an attack is going to land, it is everyone else's responsibility to put mitts and shields on you. If you die, it's their fault, and if you live, it's because of your elite skills. This goes hand in hand with our next step. Step 4. Give to them nothing, but take from them everything. Much like a samurai, your exclusive job is to kill things. You don't have a single job ability that helps anyone on your team but you. That's because as Black Mage, you're the main character of your party. Everyone else is there to provide you with buffs to make you stronger and keep you alive. You don't provide anything in return except for damage to all enemies. In high-end fights, there are what's called Black Mage relative strats, which are modified strategies to ensure that the Black Mage always has maximum uptime and needs minimal movement. What they don't tell you is that any strat can be Black Mage relative if you try hard enough. Simply refuse to move anytime you're in ley lines and blame any complications on the party. Vuln stacks are for healers to deal with, meaning they're certifiably not your problem. And that brings us to step 5. Scathe early, scathe often. If you get tired of casting all those ice spells all the time, you might also consider casting Scathe. It's a spell that has no cast time. That's pretty awesome, right? Right. So use it as much as possible, because it's probably good. Probably. And now that we got the other crap out of the way, let's talk about the best caster, Summoner. As a weeaboo and probably a millennial, you probably grew up with Final Fantasy X too. I think it's about pop idols playing underwater rugby or some crap. I have no idea, I didn't play it, but I'm pretty sure there's summoning involved. Meaning it's not only nostalgic, but it's also really cool. And since backward is the only way your heart can go, it's time to dig deep into your aging soul and exploit your childhood memories again. Let's play Summoner. How to correctly play Summoner. Step 1. Set Eggies to maximum. For some reason, this game gives you the ability to resize your summons. If you're using anything but the maximum size, you are quite simply a fake gamer. As a summoner, it is not your job to fight. It's your job to summon things to fight for you. Therefore, being able to see anything that's going on is not required. Just fill your entire screen with Titan's buttocks and let him handle the rest. Big summons do big damage, so make sure those things are large. Step 2. Casual glam is the only glam. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure I've never seen a summoner wear anything other than casual normie tier glams. I'm talking loungewear. Every summoner I encounter seems to be dressed in either jeans and a t-shirt or some kind of slice of life anime protagonist attire. And if a lot of people are doing it, there's probably a good reason for it, right? I mean, why dress up as Yuna the Shrine Maiden when you can dress up as Yuna the Pop Star, I guess? So yeah. When in Rome, do as the pop stars do. Wear modern clothes as a summoner because that's how you deal modern damage. Or something. Step 3. Forget to resummon Carbuncle. Does Carbuncle even do anything anymore? I think it has auto attacks or something? I don't know. But apparently you're supposed to summon it to help you fight even though your primal summons are actually doing all the work. And since you have to resummon your Carbuncle every time you die, you are obligated to forget to do so at least 80% of the time. All it does is mid anyway, right? And mitigation is obviously for tanks. Step 4. Let's get physical. Summoner is classified as a DPS, but as you may know, it has a skill called Physic. This is also a Scholar ability, and it has the same potency as a White Mage's Cure 1. And as you know, 90% of White Mages only have Cure 1 on their hotbar and nothing else. Therefore, Summoner is also a healer, and the correct way to play it is to use Physic as often as you can. If it's good enough for White Mages, it has to be good for Summoners too. Watch how impressed everyone will be with your incredible healing prowess. Step 5. I don't know fam, just press buttons. Summoner used to be a job with a ton of poisons and damage over time abilities and a 2.5 minute long opener, and all of the primal summons used to be these weird bionicle looking things. Basically it was a nightmare and no one knew how to play it. Enter Easy Enix with their latest mixtape, Endwalker. Since Summoner got completely reworked in 6.0, practically all you have to do now is press glowing buttons. As long as you press any button at all, especially Physic, then you probably can't go wrong, right? But if you press all the glowing buttons, you'll do more damage than your Black Mage. Very easy. Step 6. I've never played Summoner. I leveled Summoner to 90 by playing Scholar, since they're both tied to Arcanist, so I never actually even played Summoner. And if you want to be as good at Summoner as I am, all you have to do is level it up with Scholar and never even play it once. Scholar's better anyway, so just play Scholar! And that brings us to our final job. How would you like to play a job that's so broken you aren't even allowed to play it in normal content? Yep, that'd be Blue Mage. Blue Mage is a job that learns enemy spells by getting slapped around by them. If you collect enough of these spells, you become a Giga Chad or something like that. Supposedly it's fun and allegedly it's the best way to farm old content, but if you want to get into it, you have to go through the extensive process of collecting all the spells. So, how do you correctly play it? Well, that's pretty simple. Step 1. Tell me, for whom do you fight? As a Blue Mage, it is very important to know why you're choosing to play it. What drove you to this? Why are you here? Step 2. How very glib. And do you believe in Eorzea? See, that one was a trick question because Blue Mage comes from the New World, which isn't Eorzea. Believing in Eorzea is not required to play Blue Mage. Step 3. Eorzea's unity is forged of falsehoods. Its city-states are built on deceit, and its faith is an instrument of deception. Step 4. It is naught but a cobweb of lies. To believe in Eorzea is to believe in nothing. In Eorzea, the beast tribes often summon gods to fight in their stead, though your comrades only rarely respond in kind, which is strange, is it not? Step 5. Are the 12 otherwise engaged? I was given to understand they were your protectors. If you truly believe them your guardians, why do you not repeat the trick that served you so well at Cartano and call them down? They will answer, so long as you lavish them with crystals and gorge them on ether. Your gods are no different than those of the beasts, icons everyone. Accept but this, and you will see how Eorzea's faith is bleeding the land dry. Step 6. Alexa, play Baby Shark. Step 7. Nor is this unknown to your masters, which prompts the question, why do they cling to these false deities? What drives even men of learning, even the great Louis Soir, to grovel at their feet? The answer, your masters lack the strength to do otherwise. For the word of man to mean anything, man must own the world. To this end he hath fought ever to raise himself through conflict, to grow rich through conquest, and when the dust of battle settles, it is ever the strong who dictate the fate of the weak. Knowing this, but a single path is open to the impotent ruler, that of false worship, a path which leads to enervation and death. Only a man of power can rightly steer the course of civilization, and in this land of creeping mendacity, that one truth will prove its salvation. Come, champion of Eorzea, face me! Your defeat shall serve as proof of my readiness to rule. It is only right that I should take your realm, for none among you has the power to stop me! Congratulations, you've mastered Blue Mage. Now you can finally buy those last 3 Triple Triad cards and never play this job again. You're free! And that, my friends, is how to correctly play every job in Final Fantasy XIV. I was supposed to write some kind of big ending monologue here, but I only finished putting this panel together like 2 hours ago, so GG, LeMayo. But put this in the script. If there is enough time left, take audience questions. Oh, I guess we can do that. What do we got? We got 9 minutes. That's so much time. Oh man, finally I could take a drink. That was hard. It's hard yelling for an hour straight. Let's get a look at this audience. I've been hearing a lot of like outfit changes going on this entire time. Sadly, I didn't have it set up to have those on screen, but I sure wish I did. Let's see. We got any questions? We got to rapid fire these things if we got them. How to play Fisher? Just do ocean fishing. How many questions 7 minutes can't handle? Well, 7 minutes is all the time I have to explain to you, so... What are you expecting the next 2 jobs in Dawn Trail? The next 2 jobs in Dawn Trail. I think it's probably going to be Bird Watcher. Yeah, I'm really getting Bird Watcher vibes, and I'm thinking like rugby player. I don't know. Who's Avril Lavigne? Avril Lavigne is one of the greatest Blue Mage players in the world, as far as I understand. What do you do if you accidentally removed Kaiten? Well, you can't play Samurai anymore because you're a fake gamer. How many blue spells do you have? What? There's spells? How to be sane FF14 player. So what you're going to want to do is find the uninstall button. I think it's in the settings somewhere. Complete global jobification. Sorry, let me make sure I'm not missing chat in game as well. There's a lot of people here that waited in line to get here, and so let me not neglect them. Have you gone blind from Red Mage LB3? I have never LB3'd as a Red Mage, so I guess the answer is no. How to correctly play Alimza AFKer. Okay, so step 1, go to the Mog station, steal your mom's credit card, and buy everything on the list. Steal your mom's credit card, but get her permission first. When's the next zombie? No. Favorite anti-shins tactics. Oh, I think we covered that early on, but that would be 7 consecutive fell cleaves. How to play crafters. Nobody plays crafters. It doesn't matter. What am I doing here? You're gonna have to take that one up with someone else. I can't answer that for you. What if I did the Lancer quest, but am I unable to play it correctly now? There is no Lancer quest. There's only a Spearer quest, and so like I think yeah, if you take that quest, you have broken the Lancer. What do you do if someone pets me? Kill them. Eat them. Which soulstone is the most useless? Which soulstone is the most useless? That's a tough one. I'd say probably that blue one. I don't know what it does. Because where's my Wendy's? How many Moogles must one ninja need to set fire to the ultimate? How many Moogles must one ninja need to set fire to the ultimate weapon? How many Moogles? I don't know. Ninja's not really a Moogle job, but I bet if you bunny enough times, that'd give you quite a lot of kindling. How many lalafell does it take to make a falafel? I find that question offensive. Get that person out of here. Is it sponsored by Pepsi? I have no idea what you're talking about. Is Carby edible? Yes, Scholar has proven that. It tastes like blue sherbet. What's your favorite shin to take out? Favorite shin to take out? That'd probably have to be Shinryu, because, I mean, it's in the name. Are we still getting Pepsi? I'm not playing Sage right now, so if there are any Sages in the audience, hook us up. Why is White Mage white, and why is it not because of white magic? What? They're better skilled than a Lala Primal Rend. I don't know if there's a better skill than Primal Rend, period. Other than maybe Double Down. What boss has been your favorite and why? Oh, that's it's gotta be P8S, I think. I don't know. Probably P8S. That's where I got most of the research for this video from. This panel. That's where most of the research was done. Missed everyone with my Pepsi, what do I do? I guess you have to uninstall Sage. You're gonna have to just play Scholar instead. It's better. Just play Scholar. How many Sam Glams could a Sam Glam glam if a Sam Glam could glam Sams? That's gonna depend on whether or not you still have chitin on your hotbar. That's like how many chitins can Samurai cast in a minute? If the answer is none, then there you go. How much do you like snakes? Oh man. I am tired of these Moogle fluffing snakes on this Moogle fluffing fight. I've got it out for snakes. Scholar best class? Yes, correct. Are you looking forward to Monk being released next expansion? Absolutely. I can't wait to dragon kick even harder in not America. Which mount is your favorite to ride about? Chalker Poker. I'm a pay pig. Chalker Poker. Hands down. When do lalafell become talafell? What is that? Does that exist? I don't know. What do you know about that? Tell me more about this talafell. What flavor is the water do I put in my tiny waterfall? Usually green tea flavor. That's what mine is. See, let's just check some Twitch chat. We got 3 minutes. What is the fabled floor tank class? I don't know. I don't know how to tank floors. I feel like that comes up a lot when I'm playing Lancer, but I only play Lancer. So, you see, people talk about Dragoon and they meme about it dying all the time. I don't know, like, I don't think Dragoon is even in the game yet, but fortunately, as a Lancer, I don't have to worry about that. You have to wear red as a red mage, that's correct. That's correct. Yoshi P will ban you if you don't. You're going to get pulled into the admin jail, and they're going to ban you. Are there any memes you don't know? Well, I mean, if I didn't know them, how would I know I didn't know them? I don't know. Are you the worst scholar ever? That is correct. But the upside is nobody plays Scholar, so I could be the worst scholar ever, but I'm probably the only one online. How do you beat Cape Westwind? Oh man, we would need twice the length of this panel to explain that one to you. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like, I'll have to take out a panel next year to talk about Cape Westwind. I don't think we're gonna have enough time. You think Zero is a new waifu or a temporary one character? I think Zero. I mean, that's. We can't talk spoilers. It's not in the tags. Mad because no Wendy's. That's correct. Janitor class confirmed. Yes. The next class is like witch with a broom, you know, like classic witches with brooms, except instead of magic, you just sweep the floor. I still play Summoner with fancy glams. No, that's not allowed. No, Summoner Glam should look like someone at Walmart. It should look like you bought it at like JCPenney. Is that still open? Summoner Glam should look like something that you would see on a mannequin at Target. We're looking forward to yet another Summoner rework. What? Are they reworking it again? All right, we got a minute left, my friends. I have to end when the time slot is up. So basically, it's gonna hard cut off. So, this is probably my outro now. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I hope you learned a lot. I know that I sure taught a lot, so if you didn't learn anything, that's probably a you problem. Good luck. Use these newfound skills to go become great legendary ultimate raiders and whatnot. These things that I have taught you today will work in ultimates. So, you know, go apply for a static right now. Tell them Cider taught you how to play. They'll know. They'll know. Alright, but I'm going to be hanging out all weekend, or what's left of it. I'm going to be here all day, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to be here for the whole LunarCon. We got a VIP Alliance raid coming up really soon. I'm going to be a part of that as well. I encourage you all to check it out. But also just hang around the convention. I'll be in and out of voice chats and whatnot on the Discord. I'll see you all. I gotta go. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been great.